Genetic diseases and disorders. What do you think of when you think of genetic mutation? Brains. Did you think of that? Because that's not actually a real genetic mutation. Some real ones include albinism, heterochromia, and unfortunately cancer. So there are two ways to get one. The first one is when your parents pass down their genes. They usually pass down, let's say, eye color. They pass down two regular eye color genes. But if one of them has a mutated gene for eye color, then they could pass that gene on to you, and it gets inserted to your DNA, and then you have that mutation. And then the second way to get it is while you're still alive. It just kind of appears one day. Some of these include Down syndrome, which causes developmental delays, and cancer, a disease where there's uncontrollably dividing cells that make a tumor. Some ways to develop them are through chemicals, radiation exposure, and smoke exposure. So now that we've talked about what a genetic mutation is, let's go and zoom in on a specific one and see how a person would be affected by this. For this, I've chosen early onset Alzheimer's, a disease that affects the brain and makes it less able to function properly. So this is Jeff, a regular civilian that was a police officer. He's hardworking and he's talkative. At the age of 55, he decided to retire from being a police officer. But soon after that, he started being more forgetful and less passionate. So he went to a therapist, but he still didn't get better. So he went to a psychologist next. And that's where he got the news about his brain. He had the PSEN1 gene, and a mutated one, which means that when combined with his symptoms, he most likely had early onset Alzheimer's. It would start out small, being able to plan things less efficiently, losing track of time and places, but it would soon turn dire, not being able to communicate efficiently, developing anxiety and depression, and forgetting short-term memory. This is obviously super devastating for anyone to go through, but in order to treat it, we need to know what happens. So this is our brain from earlier, and it makes amyloid proteins, which are theorized to help make neurons at first. So this is our amyloid protein, and then after it's used, it's usually cleaned out of here. But in a brain with Alzheimer's, it can't be cleaned out fast enough for whatever reason. So it builds up in dangerous plaques, which can make neurons less efficient at communicating with each other. So obviously, Jeff didn't want to become a husk of his former self, incapable of doing basic actions, so he sought more medical professional help. So unfortunately, because this is a genetic disease, there's currently no cure. Oh. But there are treatment methods and medicine that you can take to help with your symptoms and decrease the amount of amyloid plaque in between your neurons on your brain. So the first drug works by releasing proteins and chemicals to help your neurons communicate more effectively, but they don't decrease the amount of amyloid plaque there. And then the second method uses these guys, called, I believe it's pronounced microglia, and they help your brain by eating all the bad stuff in it, like the amyloid plaque. But if you have Alzheimer's disease, like I said, these guys can't eat all of it fast enough, and then it becomes overwhelming and it develops in huge splotches. So what the drug does is it releases a protein that goes and kind of sticks a big red flag on them saying, hey, get microglias, eat this thing. So then the microglias will know what to kill. And this works because sometimes the microglias see these amyloid plaques and they don't know if they're good or if they're bad. And then they leave them there and it forms plaques. So Jeff chose a medicine with the help of his doctor. And he lived on to have a better quality of life for many more years. But unfortunately, the amount of time that he would have been able to live was incredibly decreased because of his Alzheimer's. And just 8 years later, he unfortunately passed away. And while this exact story was just fiction, this exact thing happens to 7 million people worldwide every single year, which might be small, just 1 in 1,142 chance, but it takes off 55% of your lifespan on average. So yeah, that was my more intense, more personal story about the single DNA change. It's just one DNA base pair change that causes the horrible disease of early onset Alzheimer's. Goodbye. Hope you liked the video.